This is a difficult response. This is not a take that I feel like so emboldened to. However, I did conclude the NFC North is now the best division in football. I think the Packers had the most complete and most dominant win of week one. That win over the Lions was like, oh, hello, the Packers are here. Micah Parsons is a Packer now. And I do understand how brutal the Lions looked, but I just think that roster is too incredibly stacked for the Lions to look as dumbfounded at times as they did against the Packers to be that throughout the entirety of a 17-game season. I do feel like the Lions at some point will get things together. There was just too much attrition. You lose Aaron Glenn, your defensive coordinator. You lose Ben Johnson, your offensive coordinator. You lose the brain trust from your team that got you to the to a playoff run over the last couple of years. That's going to take time, right? There is going to be an adjustment period. So I don't think the Lions are who they were in week one. And yes, we saw the Minnesota Vikings struggle in the first half, really the first three quarters against the Bears on Monday Night Football. But again, I believe in Kevin O'Connell. In KOC we trust. Again, too much talent on that roster to not be a playoff team, at least in my opinion. And then, of course, the Bears. They don't look like a playoff team, but with Ben Johnson, brilliant offensive mind, and Caleb Williams, who I think is incredibly talented, there are things to like about this Bears team. So top to bottom, I do think right now, where things stand, the NFC North could be the best division in football.
You are so close to being right, yet so far away. They're the second best division in football.
I also don't even think I'm right. Like, I'm
Okay,
just trying to have an opinion and support it. But, like, you could make a case, I think, for 4 or 5 different divisions to be the best.
You can only make a case for one division to be the best, and it's the AFC West, and I'll tell you what. Okay, so you just mentioned the Lions didn't look good enough. Okay, so the Lions didn't look good enough in week one. The Chiefs also didn't look good enough. But if anybody right now injected true serum in your veins and said, all right, you have to bet your house against the Chiefs for the rest of the season, how many people are actually willing to place that bet? How many people will put their money where their mouth is on the under for a win total for Kansas City? The answer is not many. Kansas City's going to normalize. They're going to be just fine. You just saw the Chargers on your screen. Why'd you see the Chargers on your screen? While everybody was out partying Friday night, we've forgotten at this point that all the Chargers went out did was dominate the defending Super Bowl representative from the AFC in their opening matchup. The Chargers went out and did absolutely everything you could ask them to do. So now let's look at the third best team in the division as we currently stand, probably the Denver Broncos. Well, you can make the argument that the Denver Broncos have the best defense in the NFL. Bo Nix wasn't good enough. Bo Nix has got to be better. But you may have the best unit in the entire league playing on the defensive side of the ball in Denver. So now I'm 3 deep. Okay, so now get me to the weakest link, because if you're going to talk best, you're only as strong as your weakest link. The weakest link in the AFC West might be my beloved Raiders, who last time I checked went out and dominated the Patriots. I know it was only a 7-point win, but watch the game. All right, so I got this moment from Geno. I got this moment from Chip Kelly. I see Max Crosby there. If that's the worst team in my division, damn. Like, you want to talk best division, I'm looking top to bottom. And top to bottom, I still believe the Chiefs are going to normalize into one of the best teams in the AFC. I still believe the Chargers have shown us they are one of the best teams in the AFC. I still believe the Broncos have the best defense in the AFC. And I think we learned that the Raiders are a hell of a lot closer to competent than we've seen in a very long time. That gets me straight to there is no weak link, and the top of this thing could represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That's the best division in the NFL.
It's your point about the Raiders. I don't know how high their ceiling is, but I do feel like their floor is significantly higher than it has been in recent years because of that man right there. And finally, there is a competent leader at the top with the Raiders, and that alone, I think, should make the vibe so much better in Vegas. That alone raises the floor. That alone at least doesn't make the Raiders feel like an incompetent organization. That's an upgrade, 100%. And I do not disagree with you in the slightest that the AFC West could be probably the deepest division in football. That at this point, we can have a realistic conversation of, are the Chiefs going to win the AFC West? They already are one step behind, that goal, already losing to the Chargers in week one. But we go from the best to the worst. Fitz, who is the worst division in the NFL?
Yeah, the worst division in the NFL, and I'm not sure this one's even all that close, is the AFC South. And look, for me, it's the AFC South in large part because, again, I mentioned the floor. the floor is bad for the Titans, and they held on against the Broncos. That was a gutsy loss. I still think that they're devoid of the necessary talent and the necessary structure around Cam Ward to get the best out of him. They end up being one of the worst teams in the NFL. Even though they were plucky in week one, I don't trust the organization. I don't trust their coach. I don't trust their situational football. I don't trust any of that. So, all right, that's trash. The Texans just, whatever that magic is the Texans had a couple of years ago, they don't have it. They don't have it right now. And last year it was injuries. This year, I just don't know. We need to see some sort of moment where we're like, yeah, that is the Texans we expect. They got all the talent. I still believe C.J. Stroud has a chance to be one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC, but we got to see it put together. And I don't think right now most people are sitting back saying, oh, my God, I can't believe we have to face the Texans this week. That's the same thing I'd say about the Jags. Yeah, the Jags obviously get a week one win, but I'm squarely on the record saying I don't think Liam Cohen's going to be that guy. And I'd love to eat crow. Jags fans, I'd love to be wrong. It's fun when you guys are good. Trevor Lawrence is somebody we've been waiting for years to turn into the Trevor Lawrence we expect, but we ain't seen it yet. So I'm still looking at all that, saying that's unknown. And, hell, I'm the person that's picked the Colts to win this division. That's a statement. If the Colts are the best team in your AFC South, then your division isn't very good. Like, it's just we could go either South here, Caroline. I go AFC South as the worst division.
I think that there are two correct answers here. One is the AFC South. You would be correct. I mean, the Titans look like they very well could have back-to-back first overall picks. I will go with the team in another division that I think is also in contention for the number one overall pick, and I will go the NFC South. Those are the two answers. What's the best division, or worst division, in the NFL? It's the AFC and it's the NFC South. The NFC South, I think, the Bucs are a playoff contender 100%. I'll take them out of the conversation. I don't really feel all that, encouraged about the Atlanta Falcons. I don't feel very encouraged about the Carolina Panthers. We talked in the show yesterday, which, of course, you can find on the Yahoo Sports YouTube page, that Bryce Young stunk it up week one, and nobody cares because everybody just expects Bryce Young to stink it up. And the Saints are brutal. The Saints don't have a quarterback. The Saints at this point, Saints fans were talking about the NFL draft in May. Not this most recent NFL draft. They're talking about the 2026 NFL draft in May, June, and July. That's how down bad this fan base is, because everybody just wants to press fast forward on this season and just get to the draft, because that's the only thing that Saints fans have to hold on to. So the Saints are dreadful. The Falcons are meh. The Panthers are tough to watch. The Bucs, playoff contender. So I will take them out of the conversation. But the NFC South and the AFC South are both just dreadful. And that's kind of how it's been the last couple of years, hasn't it been? The AFC South and the NFC South, just rough.
I'll be honest, you just slapped me around in that debate and won. You're right, the NFC South is the far trashier division. That advantage to Caroline Fenton. She gets the point on that one. All right, how about this? What NFC division is a wrap? Just cook it, it's done, it's over, somebody's already won it.
Now, this might sound very strange because this division was one that I did consider as the best division in the NFL. So how can I say that the division that's a wrap is also one of the best divisions in the NFL? And I will explain it to you. I think that the AFC North is a wrap. I think that the Ravens have won the AFC North. I think the Ravens look far and beyond the best team, not just in that division. I think the Ravens, even in a loss, looked like one of the best teams in the NFL. The Ravens are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. The Ravens have a Super Bowl caliber defense. The Ravens have a quarterback in Lamar Jackson who is one of the best in the NFL. They have a running back who is one of the best in the NFL, and Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry ran for $170. Yes, in a losing effort, but still, does anybody want to be the one that's looking down at the loaded gun that is Derrick Henry? Yeah, I wouldn't want to. So I think the Ravens have wrapped up the division, but I also think it could be one of the best divisions in football because I think the Bengals can be a playoff team. I think the Steelers can be a playoff team. The Browns, maybe not so much, but I think the Ravens have it wrapped up because they're the best team in a really competitive division.
I don't disagree with that, actually. You make a really compelling point because of where the Bucs are, but I'll go a little bit controversial here. Already calling it a wrap for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are going to win the NFC East, and I'm not sure that. Look, Washington played really well, and I want to give Washington their flowers, but this is what we do. because the Eagles played on Thursday night and now we're almost a week removed from it. And we've seen all this other action. We just forget the fact that the Eagles, on a night where they were sloppy in some ways and on a night where, due to their own issues, they didn't have one of their best players on the field, for all of that, the Eagles still went out and won that game. And I walked away on Friday, and I said at the time I was more impressed with the Eagles than ever. I want to keep that same energy, even though it's been a few days. So Washington, yeah, gets a big win. That was a big win against the Giants. The Giants are trying to build. The Cowboys are trying to build. Washington is going to be a good football team, but the advanced analytics are still the advanced analytics from last year. They regress to the means. I just think there's just nothing that makes me think Philadelphia takes a step back. Yes, they need some help with their second corner, but their second corner isn't going to be taking on George Pickens week in and week out. So I give the Eagles the wrap on the NFC East. Controversial take, I know, but shows how much I love them. What about the AFC? I'll give you an AFC division that's already a wrap. And God, I feel like for a generation, Carolina AFC East fans are used to this. It's a wrap after 1 week. For a generation, it was a wrap after 1 week for the Patriots. Now it's a wrap after 1 week for the Bills. After watching the Bills and then watching the rest of that division, it's laughable. The Bills are going to march their way through the AFC because they're taking on glorified Pop Warner football teams half the time.
Yeah, the AFC East feels like one of those divisions, like the NFC South to me, that I can say, okay, well, that team's going to win the division. With the Bucks, like even before the season, and I feel even more, confident in that take that that's the Bucks division. The Bucks will be in the playoffs no matter what because they're winning that division. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are winning the AFC East, and frankly, Fitz, I don't even think it's going to be that close. Anybody feel an ounce of confidence about the Miami Dolphins going once? Going twice? Anybody? Oh, I will take that back. I do not want to pile on the Jets misery that Jets fans have experienced the last several years because they at least put up a whole bunch of points against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. So that's something. Still don't think they're going to be a very good football team. Everyone is so high on the New England Patriots this year. Mike Vrabel was the sexy offseason hire and Drake May coming into year 2. But I think what we learned, at least from week 1, I will always say this. I couch any of my week 1 takes with week 1 can often be a fallacy. But what we did see in week 1 was the Patriots looked the same. Like they look like the same old Patriots. They committed a bunch of penalties. It was just kind of not very explosive football. I think they probably have more work to do and more talent to acquire before they're actual contenders in that division. So I agree with you 100%. The Bills signed, sealed, delivered, put a nice little bow on it. The Bills run the AFC East.
You can't say signed, sealed, delivered without me just hearing Stevie Wonder sing a signed, sealed, delivered. Okay, let's get to the most unpredictable division.
Are we allowed to do
that? Well, we didn't sing enough of it. They can't find us. After 1 week, so we've got 1 week. Yeah, Stevie, just call me if you have an issue. Just call me in general, Stevie. I'd love to talk. 1 week, what division is the most unpredictable in the NFL?
Oh, I guess, the way that the NFL goes, you could say yes, all of them. Right now, though, I will say the NFC East. Look, we called the Cowboys a dark horse contender yesterday. Doesn't that feel gross? Doesn't that feel icky to say that the Cowboys are a dark horse? Like, it's the freaking Cowboys. But I do think there was at least a little bit to like from what we saw from the Cowboys in their week 1 matchup with the Eagles. Like, I think there was at least a little bit of something to like about the way that Dak Prescott was slinging the rock. And that game could have gone differently had CeeDee Lamb not had 3 incredibly uncharacteristic and untimely drops. And I get it. I understand. Coulda, shoulda, woulda all day long. If this happened, if that happened, we could do that all day long. But I don't think that CeeDee Lamb is going to drop the ball on 3rd and 4th down the way that he was doing it against the Eagles. So I think that maybe the Cowboys, after an offseason of, look, I'm guilty of it. I did it. I was making fun of them. They were the butt of all of my jokes. Jerry Jones, what the heck is he doing? And I still believe this, that the Cowboys will not win a Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is calling the shots. But maybe the Cowboys could just end up being kind of the same kind of team that they've been. Like they win 12 games in the regular season, they lose in postseason, but maybe we should give them more credit for at least what I have been giving them. I still think the Eagles are going to win that division. Maybe the Cowboys are a lot better than we thought. Maybe the Commanders don't take a step back in Jaden Daniels' sophomore season. Maybe there is no sophomore slump. Maybe Terry McLaurin's extension and what they accomplished last season, going to the NFC Championship game after years and years and years of misery, maybe they build off of that versus taking a step back. So while I do agree with you that this is the Eagles' division to lose, there could be a whole lot more maybe butts getting clenched in Philadelphia than we initially anticipated.
Well, I think two things can be true. A division can be a lock and also be unpredictable with everything that happens under it. And a lot of people are gonna be they're gonna be puckered up. All right, so that's an unpredictable division.